Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We have a lot of books to get to today. Today we're going to be doing a May reading wrap up, and since I didn't do it in April because I only read 3 books in April, I'm kind of combining the two real quick because there was just no need to make a whole separate video for April, so we are just going to tack that on to the beginning of today's video. I think I have a total of 13 books to get through today, so I read 3 in April and then I think 10. Hold on. Okay, we have 12 books and I read 9 in May. So enough, enough explaining. We're gonna get right into it because I have a lot to get to today, obviously. So let's just go right ahead and get into it. So I started off April with Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This is her newest release of this year. We are following a male veterinarian. Our female main character is having some issues at home. Her mom has dementia, and so we're kind of watching these two meet in a different state, and then our female main character has to move away to take care of her mother. But right before she moves away, she goes on a date with Javier, and they hit it off better than she thought they were going to. And so really the date was just a kind of like a brain break for her, trying to, de-stress before moving, but then it turned out to be a little bit more. I have gone back and forth with my rating on this book for a month now, and I'm still not 100% sure. I have it rated on Goodreads as a 3. Shameless plug, if you want to follow my Goodreads, it's down below. But I have it on Goodreads as a 3, but I think that's because I'm gonna round it up from a 2.75 stars, which I know is like super crazy, and I feel like I don't normally do like super like precise ratings, but I do think it was a 2.75 stars. This was like genuinely not good to me, and I love Abby Jimenez. Like, she is my #1 author, like auto by author, and I obviously had high hopes for this because it was her newest release. It's been a year since we've got her last one, which I will say I don't think played much of a part in my decision to give it 2.75 stars. Like, yes, I was hyping it up in my mind, but I gave it 2.75 stars because I hate a cringy book, and unfortunately it was a little bit too cringy for me this time. And I do know that Abby Jimenez's books are normally pretty quirky, and I like that about them, but this time it was just a little too much. I didn't like the long distance issues going on. It felt like, Javier was all give and our female main character was all take and no give, which I understand this was a very hard situation for her to navigate with her mother, being sick and all, but I don't know, it just was a little bit imbalanced for me, and that is why I'm not rating it higher for that reason. The cringiness, I just couldn't get past it, and half the book was about their issues with long distance, and I just wasn't enjoying it. Then I listened to Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. This is also a new release. This is the first Cara Bastone book I've ever read. This one is a heavy hitter. It's very emotional. We're following our female main character, Lenny, kind of navigate grief. She just lost her best friend Lou to cancer, and she is trying to keep herself busy, so she takes a job nannying in the city in order to keep herself out of the apartment that she used to share with Lou. And that is where we meet our grumpy main character, and they try and take on this list that she has. It's called the Live Again list. They take it on together to help her, navigate her grief and get closer to Lou. I gave this 3.5 stars. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I physically read it, which is kind of like the give and takes of an audiobook. Like, yeah, I was able to finish an extra book, but I feel like I just didn't like it as much because when I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm doing other things, and some things just, go in one ear and out the other. But since it was so emotional, I just wish I would have read it. But the characters and the way Cara Bastone was able to write Lenny's journey with grief was just really great. And I love something about like a summer book with a list. Like, I just love it. Like, it was really cute. And the Grumpy Sunshine and the voice narrator for this was also a very huge highlight for me. Like, I don't think I can separate the voice narrator and Lenny. Like, to me, they're the same person. And so I really enjoyed it for that reason. So maybe, I don't know, maybe read it and listen to it, because seriously, like, that was one of my favorite audiobooks ever. Then lastly, for April, I read The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. And this is the reason why I didn't want to just skip doing a wrap up for April at all, because this is my, I think, second 5-star read of the year. In this book, we're following Georgia, who is called back to her hometown in South Carolina because her dad has passed away suddenly, and so she lives in London. She's called back to South Carolina, and she doesn't really want to go because her and her family are kind of estranged. She grew up very, you know, not a part of the family, but very different from her family. She is best friends with her brother, who is gay, and her family in the South, in this book, it was a little bit more frowned upon. They're heavily religious. And so she just doesn't like her family for that reason, because she is best friends with her brother, who is gay, and they kind of always ostracized both of them. That's why she lives in London. But her dad passed away. She has to come to the funeral and help arrange all of that. When she's there, she meets her brother's sponsor for alcoholism. His name is Sam Penny, and they get to know each other in this whole like week. I think it's like a week time frame, and the rest is history. This book, like I said, it was a 5-star read for me. I love this book, and something you'll hear it up and down again from anyone who reads Jessa Hastings books, but her writing is just so different, and it's just so beautiful. And like, she really does a great job of, like, look at how thick this book is. For a romance book, this is crazy. It's what, like almost 500 pages, which is crazy for a romance book, but I can appreciate it because Jessa Hastings likes to write kind of the mundaneness of relationships, and I feel like that is what helps people get so attached to her characters in her book. I don't like to cry in books, like cry over books, and I don't rarely, but something about Georgia's, you know, growing relationship with her other brother, Tenny, just really like broke me to pieces. If you know, you know. Like, genuinely, this book was crazy. I will say the ending kind of was a little bit rushed, and I think that was more so just because this is a standalone, and I think that's kind of why she wraps it up in a messy bow at the end. But it wasn't enough to make me like not rate this a 5 stars, because genuinely, like, I'm already wanting to reread this book now that I'm talking to you guys about it. And so if you have been seeing this book everywhere, because I've been seeing it everywhere, go ahead and pick it up, because this is my second 5-star read of the year. And I read this in April, so we're almost halfway, and I've only had 2 5 stars, and this is one of them. I think this is your sign. Then I listened to Educated by Tara Westover. This is a memoir of Tara's life living in a very small town in Idaho. It is like, you know, Mormon country there. She is raised by her mom and dad. Her dad is very like anti-school, anti-education, like very like doomsday, like prepper, like that kind of like very extreme, you know, morals. So she kind of talks about her life there and how she escapes it and ends up going to college. And this book is genuinely insane. Like, it changed my perspective so much on my childhood, and like it's just genuinely insane, some of the things she went through. Like, there were some graphic parts that I was just like literally I almost had to turn it off because I was like gagging, because it was just so gross. Like, she's raised on this farm. She, you know, does farm work. She doesn't go to school. She barely knows, like, when she's going to college, she barely knows what like anything is. And so people make fun of her, but eventually she prevails. Obviously, she's written a book. She is very educated, very smart. I did give this book 4.5 stars. Really, the only thing that I think I had a gripe on was just like some of the redundancy in like the middle parts of her childhood, which is also necessary because it kind of shows you like it seemed like there was no escape for her to get away from this, but obviously there was. But to me, it was just a little bit redundant. I also think because it took me so long to finish this book, it just kind of knocked it down a 1/2 star, which is not the book's fault at all. It's my own. But genuinely, I think that this is a very great memoir. I think everyone should listen to it. It gives you a whole different perspective on your own childhood, your own education, your own like family. Like, it's just, it was insane. Next in May, I read Love Theoretically by no other than Ali Hazelwood. I don't know why I haven't read this one yet. I know that this one is a little bit older on her backlist. I just missed me some Ali Hazelwood, and this really, really did it for me. If you've never read an Ali Hazelwood book, you may not know, but a lot of her books, more recently, like her books aren't as so much as like STEM romances, but when she first started, she only wrote STEM romances, and so this is no different. In this book, we're following Elsie. She is a very, very broke graduate. She does like teaching in the college. It's called adjunct. She's an adjunct professor, which means she just basically gets paid nothing. She's a graduate student. She is trying to, you know, get her, you know, oh my God, why can't I? This is like too sciencey for me. She's trying to get her research, and so she's broke. She ends up taking up this job where she fake dates people for money. And so she is fake dating this one guy to help keep his real persona under wraps, and that is where she meets our male main character, the older brother of this guy that she is fake dating. His name is Jack Smith. He also happens to be a very sciencey STEM guy. They're both in physics. She is going for a job in the physics department at MIT. He is one of the people on the like committee for that, and like he teaches there, yada yada. And so things get messy, it gets crazy. I gave this 4.5 stars. I really, really loved it. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because it is a little bit Ali Hazelwood cringy, like kind of like Abby Jimenez. There's something in there that's gonna be millennial as fuck. And for this one, the female main character really loves cheese, and she doesn't shut up about cheese, and I think it just kept throwing me off. This was just so good. Like I was just needing a romance with like yearning and like fighting, and like it was just so good. I loved it so much. I love Ali Hazelwood. Then I listened to Down the Drain by Julia Fox. This is literally a book written by Julia Fox about Julia Fox and her life and kind of like growing up as an immigrant. It is just a very, very crazy story of like being young and being crazy and doing stupid shit. I don't know, I don't want to give too much away. It was just like mind-blowing, especially because like the things that she was doing at some of the ages, like what was I doing? I was probably like freaking playing Minecraft, and this girl was out like going to clubs, and it was really, really crazy. I gave it 4.5 stars just because I listened to it, and Julia Fox's voice is like genuinely very, very annoying. Love her so much, but she has that like, I don't know, or you know the clip where it's like Uncut Gems.
I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like things like that.
And it was like the whole time, and I had to listen to it at 3 times speed because she talks so slow. But that is the only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars, just because, you know, you have to have the 5-star feeling, and I just wasn't having that. But it was really, really interesting and just fucking insane. Like she's fucking insane, and I love her so much. Definitely like gave me a new appreciation for her and the things that she does. Like she is just crazy. Like she's just one of those people, like she was in Uncut Gems, but like what did she, like, you know what I mean? Like she's not really like, she's a celebrity, but like what does she do? You know what I mean? And so listening to her story was just really cool. She's fucking insane. Next, I read The Right Move. This is the second book in the Windy City series by Liz Tomford. The series is just a collection of interconnected standalones that are like about some kind of sports romance. This one in particular was a basketball romance. In this book, we follow Indy, who is best friends with Stevie, who is the female main character of the first book. Stevie's brother is Ryan, and he is one of the best basketball players in Chicago. Her best friend Indy just got broken up with, and she needs a place to live. So Stevie asks Ryan, her brother, if Indy can live with him in his like huge penthouse like apartment. Like he has room, and he doesn't want to at first, but eventually she moves in. It is the roommate trope, and it is so good. However, Ryan is very standoffish. He is really great at the game, and he, you know, obviously gets paid for that. He is just a great asset, but his general manager of the team doesn't like how standoffish he is. Like once he is done at practice or done at a game, he goes straight home and that is all he does. Like he is either at home or on the court. And so a general manager doesn't like this, and so him and Indy take up this plan to fake date in order to convince his general manager that he is a likable person, that, you know, he can be outgoing, he can be like a people pleaser, he can, like, people can like him. So they end up fake dating for that. But Indy is a hopeless romantic. She is just like me and you. She likes to read romance novels. She loves tropes. And so I gave this book 4 stars. It was so much better than Mile High, which is the first book in this series. It just made me giddy. Like at first I didn't understand like the whole like sports romance thing, but like it was making me so giddy. I read this in 24 hours in my 24-hour readathon, and it's a pretty like thick romance book, but I devoured it. When I first started it, I thought I was going to hate it because Ryan, like I said, he's like so standoffish. He was being a complete asshole. Like I literally was like, I can't finish it, but I finished it and I'm so glad I did because he eventually opens up. We get to learn, you know, more about him. And seriously guys, like this man, oh my God, pretended that he hated her, but he didn't. It'll do it every time. It really will. Then I read no other than Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is Emily Henry's newest release. In this book, we're following 2 journalists who are competing for the same job of interviewing and writing a book on Margaret Ives' life. Margaret Ives' life. Margaret Ives is a heiress. Her family was extremely rich. Just all this like crazy, you know, stuff. And so they both want their hands on this story. So they end up competing for the same job and kind of separately interviewing her and figuring out like who is gonna get picked for the job. But they are in Margaret's city, Little Crescent, and so they have nothing else to do when they're not working and on their off days from interviewing Margaret and going to her house. So they end up always somehow hanging out with each other in this little town, and then eventually they start hanging out with each other because they want to. This was a 4.5 stars for me, and I couldn't give it a 5 stars because it's not my favorite Emily Henry book, but it is close. It is really, really great. I have been seeing so many people shit on this book, and I'm not really sure why. Like, I genuinely thought it was so good. I understand that we want more of Alice and Hayden. I personally don't think it's a 5 stars because a lot of their backstory was kind of briefly mentioned and then not really wrapped up at the end. So that was kind of why I didn't like it, but I loved Margaret's side of the story. I think if you go into it thinking that it's like this big scandal that they're getting to know, then you're gonna be disappointed. I think a lot of people are calling like Margaret Ives like family error, like, you know what I mean? Like they're calling it a huge scandal, but I would not go into that thinking this because you are going to be let down. But I think if you didn't enjoy this book, like what were you looking for? Were you looking for more spice? Because like I just feel like sometimes it's okay. Like it's okay to step back from that kind of, you know, writing style and enjoy something like this that's a little bit more fiction than it is romance. Anyways, if you did not like this book, I just want to know why, because people are saying just crazy things about this book and I feel like we didn't give it a fair shot. So next up, I read The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, and this is a young adult trilogy. I read the first book years ago and I picked this one up mostly because I was interested in seeing what happens next, and I feel like this is a very fairy tale-esque fantasy, and so I feel like that was perfect for springtime. I'm not gonna dive into the semi-summary of this book just because it, you know, if you haven't read the first book, then this is just one huge spoiler for you. So definitely not gonna do that. But like I said, this is book number 2. I ended up giving it 3 stars just because it fell really flat for me. I do think I would have enjoyed it more if I read it pretty quickly after reading the first one, but like I said, it's been years. I kind of forgot what happened. I did try and watch like a recap YouTube, but I still just don't think I cared enough, and I really loved the first one, and so I feel like I would have definitely loved this a lot more if I didn't wait years to read it. So the only reason I waited too was because I didn't want it in the hardcover version. And then I bought the paperback and then I never, you know, I never picked it up. Things happen, okay? But yes, this felt really flat for me. I honestly can't even like remember why. I can't remember much about this book. I think it was just very redundant. I kind of was getting really annoyed at our female main character, Evangeline. She was making me really mad. The whole time in this book, I felt like I was like reading a Dora episode. Like it was like, should I go here? Why would Evangeline, like, I don't know, like she was so self-aware, but also not. I don't know if that makes sense. And if you've read that and this makes sense to you, what I'm saying, great. Because I don't know, like she was so self-aware, being like, I know he loves me. Like, I know yada yada, or like, I know that I love him, yada yada yada. But then like she would go and do something else and it was just pissing me off like to the max. So I just, you know, it felt really flat for me. I do still think you should read it, especially if you liked the first one as much as I did and you want to wrap it up, because then, like I did, I read the last book of the series, A Curse for True Love, and it was a little bit better, I will give you that. I don't have it physically because taking advantage of that library card, sister, and I rented it from the library and I no longer have it with me. So, but yes, this was a little bit better for me. I ended up giving it 4 stars. The ending was a little bit anticlimactic, but it worked for me. Like, it was just a no brain needed fantasy book, which I think is great sometimes. Like, that was just what I needed. Like, there was no way I was gonna dive into a really thick fantasy and understand the world building at that time in the month, so I couldn't do it. Yeah, I think this wraps it up really nicely. We get kind of the wrap up of their relationship and, you know, the issues going on within this world. Again, I can't tell you much. I can't do that. I can't do that, guys, because if you have read it, then cool. But if you haven't, then it's even more spoiler than the last book. So yes, I've heard really bad things about the last book, but I don't know why. I just liked it more than the second book, and that, you know, it's not really the general consensus, but I don't know. I think it's just because they finally got together. Hopefully that's not a spoiler. They finally get together. Like, it's literally such a slow burn that they're getting together in book 3. And then last but not least, I listened to One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I wanted to be on the hype trend for this. It just came out. It is a very summery book and it just came out and everyone is reading it and I wanted to get my hands on it, so I listened to it. It is an interconnected standalone series. It like mentions one of the characters from the first book, but I don't think that's necessarily, like, obviously in any kind of interconnected standalone series you can read them in the order you want, but reading this one really made me want to read the first one even more. So in this book we're following Alice, another Alice. Anyways, in this book we're following Alice, who goes to help her grandma who just had hip surgery, I think. They spend a summer in a cottage by the lake. She just had hip surgery. She wants to be somewhere that she can recover and have a nice time. So she takes her grandma to a cottage by the lake. It is a cottage that she used to go to all the time when she was younger. Alice is a photographer and she is very well known for this piece that she took at the specific lake of these 3 teenagers. They're all friends. She's like really known for this piece. And so as a photographer, she is kind of, you know, used to not being in the spotlight. She's used to being a little bit more, you know, behind the camera. And so she makes this like list that she wants to do while she is having her little summertime in the cottage, because, you know, she's all alone. She's just there with her grandma. She wants to kind of relax and find a new inspiration for her photography. So she creates this list. It's a very like typical 17-year-old's list for like the summer. Obviously she's not 17, but she wants to like feel that way again. And so, you know, the list is like, you know, kiss a cute boy, yada yada yada, those kind of things. And she ends up meeting Charlie, who lives right across the lake from her, and he is helping her with that list. Turns out Charlie is one of the kids in the photo that she took years ago, the one that she is super well known for. They kind of hit it off, and the rest is a romance story. So I hope I did a good job explaining that. I feel like it's a little bit hard to explain. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I think I would have liked it more, again, if I read it physically instead of listening to it. I do think I would have liked it more, but like I said, it sparked my interest in her first book. It is so summery. Like, it made me so excited for summer, and I hate summer. Like, I'm not a summer gal. But yeah, I really like this book. I think there's something very special about, you know, meeting someone or being partners with someone who can make you feel young again and really just bring out that spark for life and stuff like that again. I don't know. I think that was just super special because obviously Alice was just not used to being like front and center, and so Charlie kind of showed her what life can be like just letting loose and stop being super like uptight. And I think that's just like really special in a relationship. So I ate it up. Anything by a lake or a beach during the summertime, I'm gonna love it. And I did. And now I'm dying to read the first book. But I will say, like, Charlie was just like, I don't know, like, he's like your typical lake boy. And it's like, okay guys, that is the end of my 12 book wrap up for April and May. May was such a good reading month for me. Summer reading is just top tier. It is unmatched. I had a new zest for reading, and obviously I feel like 9 books is probably the most I've ever read in a month, maybe. I don't know, that could be lying, but yeah. Let me know down below what you read in May. I love to know because I like to add them to my TBR. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.